So I passed the ISC2 CSSLP exam the other day, and I primarily used AI to do so. In this video, I want to break down what the CSSLP certification is, the tools I actually used to study, and whether or not they were helpful when it came time for me to take the exam. So let's start with the basics. CSSLP stands for the Certified Security Software Lifecycle Professional. It's a certification from ISC2, and it's designed for people like software developers, security architects, or anyone involved in building secure applications. It's not just about secure code, though. It's about secure processes across the entire software development lifecycle. Everything from planning, designing, developing, testing, deploying, and even maintaining software securely. So yeah, it's a big picture certification, and honestly, that's what makes it kind of tricky, just like the CISSP. It's not a deep dive into code, but more about how security fits into the entire software development lifecycle. This is hard for many organizations and many developers, so I do think this is an important certification to have. The fact that it covers a topic that most don't seem to have a solid grasp on, there isn't much study material out there. Everyone studies for the CISSP, which is a hugely popular certification from ISC2, but very few people look at the CSSLP. For me, this certification crosses my software development and cybersecurity knowledge and has been on my to-do list for several years now. What has stopped me in the past is the lack of study material. Now let's talk about how I studied, because I think this is a new way that we can all study for our next certification. No secret, I used AI, and I used a lot of AI. In fact, I would say 90% of the studying that I have done was done using AI. So to break this down, I began with the official ISC2 prep material. I took the pre-assessment, which is 150 questions, and it pointed out the various domains that I'm strong in and that I didn't do so well in. So once I had that list, I began to use prompts with Claude and ChatGPT to ask me questions from the domains that I'm weak in. I told the AI to explain why I got something wrong or right after each question. Here are a few examples of the prompts and how I made that work. So in ChatGPT, I ask me 20 questions for the ISC2 CSSLP exam. Give me multiple choice answers and be sure to randomize the answers so they are not all B as the correct answer. For whatever reason, ChatGPT always tries to make the correct answer B, so I'm telling it here to make sure it's not always B. Then the rest of the prompt is wait for me to answer each question and explain why I got something right or wrong before asking me the next question. I'm interested primarily in domain number 7, and I need these questions to be as realistic as possible. I'm asking for domain number 7 because that is one that I'm weak in. And so it thinks for a couple of seconds and starts giving me questions. So here's the first one, which is during the software retirement phase, which of the following is the most important security-related action to perform? And it gives me a couple of choices here. Now, the correct answer is C, which is ensure secure disposal of residual data and media. And that's the one that I'm going to select here. And with that, it tells me that I got that correct. It tells me why I got it correct, and it asks me the next question. You can easily do this on your phone or on the desktop, and you can break up these sessions into quick, manageable chunks whenever you have a few minutes to devote to it. It never felt like I was spending hours going through questions. So what else did I do? Well, I asked it to ask me questions using voice. Here's how that works. So here's Claude, and what you could do here is just talk to it as if it's a cybersecurity person, and you can ask it questions and get clarification further and further as you get into a particular topic. Here's an example. Claude, why is it important for me to incorporate cybersecurity at every step of the SDLC process?
Integrating cybersecurity throughout the software development lifecycle prevents vulnerabilities from becoming expensive fixes later and builds security into your product's foundation. Would you like me to explain which specific phases benefit most from early security integration?
No. Instead, tell me why I need to do threat modeling.
Threat modeling helps you identify potential security risks before attackers do, so you can prioritize your defenses where they matter most. What type of application are you working on that needs threat modeling?
It's a web application using ASP.NET.
For ASP.NET web apps, threat modeling is crucial because web applications face constant attacks like SQL injection, cross-site scripting, and authentication bypasses that can compromise user data. Are you particularly concerned about any specific threats like data breaches or user account security?
No, instead, tell me a good framework that I could use for my web application threat modeling technique.
Stride is the most popular framework for web application threat modeling, covering spoofing, tampering, repudiation, information disclosure, denial of service, and elevation of privilege. Would you like me to explain how to apply Stride specifically to your ASP.NET application?
Finally, I did purchase and download the ISO standards mentioned in the CSSLP material for risk management and a few other documents. I plugged those documents into Google's Notebook LM, and I could then create a podcast-style description of these, which were great to listen to while I was out running or driving. The same technique can be used with YouTube videos, PDFs, text documents, and much more. Imagine distilling 4 hours of information down to a 1-hour podcast that's actually interactive and easy to listen to. Considering that the material that we work with here is pretty dry, this is a great feature. Personally, as someone who doesn't absorb study material well from reading a book, I found these items very interesting and a great way to help me study for the exam. So I registered for the exam at the end of May and took it about 10 days later, and I passed. Overall, my experience with using AI to study has been great. It's quite interactive, mostly accurate, and allows me to merge multiple sources into a single concise piece of media that's easy to understand and learn from. I no longer feel like I have to spend hours reading something and comparing it to something else, or take great notes in order to understand the topic. I think AI helps break down this for you and adjusts to the study methods that you prefer and like to use. So would I use AI to study for another certification? Yep, and I'm already working on my next one. Comment below if you use AI to study for an exam and what was your experience like. And comment with any questions you may have about using AI to study. I'll be happy to answer those. With that, thank you for watching.